because game 9 is over, and it all began with Gukesh repeating a one move that he's tried before, d4, but this time he went for a different approach. That's right, Gukesh's only previous win in the World Championship match came from 1d4. That was a exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit. This time, it's the Catalan opening, as the players bashed out some very quick moves early on here, and very conventional stuff. This had been seen thousands of times before, until this moment where Gukesh played a rare move. The bishop looks like it's on a strange square, but a key idea behind it, Ivanka. Yes. So the key idea is simply to develop the knight out to d2, and the bishop is getting ready to potentially support a white knight jump into e5. Now, Ding had many approaches here, but he decides just to opt for quick development, developing the light squared bishop to b7. Yeah, and the next few moves very well played by both players. There was one moment of intrigue. The white knight jumped out. Ding's queen lined up. Now the venom has been taken out of this pawn push since the black queen is not stared down by the white rook. Likewise, the knight jumping, I think, slightly premature here, but after the rook's centralized. Gukesh showed his ambition by trying to gain space on the queen side, and Ding said, what you can do, I can do too, and he struck with c5. Yeah, perhaps in hindsight this might be an inaccuracy because it forced the pace of the game too quickly, and Ding was well ready for this. So there's so much tension there on the queen side, but after some trades with bc5, here we were wondering about whether black would be capturing the center, or white would be also capturing the center, but Gukesh decided to slide the queen over to b2, setting up a potentially dangerous battery on the dark squares. Yeah, queen potentially lined up here, the bishop also vulnerable. This is where we saw the first pin of the game. It was the theme of the game as well. So many variations under the surface that we didn't see happen in the game, reliant on that concept of the pin. The black knight here, the first to feel the heat. And after some exchanges, maybe rook takes pawn possible, we saw Ding try to simplify. He tried to get pieces off the board as quickly as possible, relying on the presence of opposite color bishops. And Gukesh, maybe a small moment here, he could have kept some pressure by jumping in with his knight, instead forcing the issue, forcing the pace again. And the key move here, Ivanka, just when it looked like Ding was about to lose a pawn due to another pin, he found a star move. Yeah, it was such a pretty move, also in terms of geometry. He slid the queen over to a7, getting out of the eye line of the white rook. The whole point is that the rook can actually come back to a5 and just defend or attack this pawn on c5, depending what white plays. And we saw a slide back by Gukesh after a long thought here, and Ding continued his accuracy. Another pin, this knight this time feeling the heat. The black rook now slid back to pile maximum pressure on, and simplifications began after Gukesh brought his queen forward. Ding spotted the way to withdraw. Yes, I mean, the whole point is that this whole construction of the knight and the pawn is just not a stable one. So this allowed Ding just to set play. Bishop takes pawn, and now after queen takes bishop, this was where one final moment of accuracy was required, and he captured that knight with the queen, ensuring that there are no background mate issues. That's right, white could have tried a check here. This queen is actually poisoned. Do not take it. This would have ended in a nasty checkmate against the black king. Instead, though, the black knight is the hero of the day, saves the day by leaping back an X-ray vision from the rook, defends everything. So this moment was key, of course. Ding had spotted this, and Gukesh decided, okay, pawns on the same side of the board, nothing to play for. He swapped the queens off. He tried to get rooks off the board as well, but Ding started tickling him, started pressing, started trying to at least show his authority. Yeah, and we really love this next move by Ding. G5 sees in space, and again, just asking questions. How are you gonna defend the e2 pawn? And Gukesh just reacted very automatically with the king stepping up to g2, and now that after the rook goes to b2, well, here was a moment where the white king had to just slide back. It's a mistake. A small loss of time by Gukesh, but of course by now the drawing margin is high, and we saw the players maneuver around a little bit. Not too much happening until a moment where Gukesh lashed out with pawn f4. And a little bit of a tough question suddenly. This bishop is pinned. There are weaknesses in the white camp, but he answered in passive fashion, but effective fashion. Gukesh, as he closed out this drawing fortress. Yes, it was good enough defense from Gukesh. Even though his pawns are weak, his white rook was sufficiently active to hold the balance. And indeed, Ding, he wasn't that patient. He decided just to force the draw, because now after this check, there we saw that there was some trade of pawns. Yeah, and ultimately Ding did win a pawn, so a small moral victory. He took a pawn with check and took this pawn too, but black left with only one h-pawn is never going to promote the white king as well, easily within touching distance to block it. And yeah, we played on. It ended up king versus king, the hardest fought draw so far, at least in terms of material left on the board, and ultimately the handshake came here.